welcome to another episode of Thinking Like a Bank, where we show you how to think like a bank by applying the same strategies and principles that banks use to help you find more financial freedom in your life. I'm your host, Sari Ibrahim. Today, I'm interviewing Emily Thomas. She's an energetic advisor and founder of Anchor and Lead. In her work, she teaches a whole new business paradigm that utilizes energetic intelligence, both science and soul, to advise high-performance professionals and creative entrepreneurs to lead with conviction and scale with complete confidence. Her signature program, the Embodied Leadership Experience, guides leaders in harnessing the power of their unique energetic framework to mitigate risk and achieve their financial intentions to build a business that fuels their lifestyle. Emily, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to interview you and get to know you. I think what you're doing is fantastic. A lot of managing energy and really kind of looking at self-awareness and really behind the individual. Before we get into that, I want to know more about you and your background.
Sure. Thank you for asking. So I actually have a very interesting background, as we all do, right? I started as a school teacher, then found out that, I wasn't able to be creatively expressed the way that I would like to. So I actually moved into the corporate sector in the medical industry. And I was a sales leader, became a sales trainer, where I, exercised my teaching skills, but taught people how to sell effectively using the methodology that allows you to actually have this consultative approach in selling, meaning it's less about trying to manipulate people into making a decision, but more about like having an honest conversation with people, getting to know them, getting to know their needs, and then finding the right solution for them, not just any solution, the right solution. So it's very ethical based sales. And that's why I think I succeed so much, is because I was so rooted in those values of truth and honesty. And then from there, I kind of wanted to push myself in a new direction. So I decided to embark on this journey of my own leadership and starting my own business. So I started a e-commerce brand back in 2016, where it was, a product-based business. It was my first business. It was very creatively rich. It was really fun. And then I decided that led me into more of the consultative leadership coaching arena where I am today. So I've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years now. And every year I just get better and better. It's like this self evolution, it's this leadership, and it's honestly the most empowering and just liberating experience. And every one of my clients and my team members gets to join this fun ride with me, which is really powerful. So it's all about expansiveness. And if you want to get on this train of the journey, you're more than welcome. It is quite a fun ride.
Can you explain more expansiveness? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so expansiveness, let's just actually dive right into like the work that I do and how it's really different than most coaches and most leadership advisors. I use something that's a new way to lead. I think it's a very deep pioneering path, because what I use is energetic informed decisions. So let's unpack that. It's really looking at the quantum physics world. So Nikola Tesla talks about, if you want to know the secrets behind the universe, look in terms of frequency and vibration. And that's what I do. I help you leverage the fundamental pieces of the universe, which is vibration and energy, to make very powerful, confident decisions, to really understand how to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And also really take this self-leadership to the next level. So taking ownership of your current situation and then stepping into this next version of yourself, of where you want to be. So looking at, okay, what would the future me do? How could I operate from a business place that will support me in having more innovative ideas, being more resilient, being more aligned? How can I calibrate to this new vibration? Because everything in life is vibration. And helping you actually receive new results. And when you actually activate this new way of leading while you're informing your decisions through energetics, it allows you to have these quantum leaps. And that's what I'm talking about joining this journey, because it's so fun to witness these goals that you're just shattering, and you're getting to these, you're completing these goals in record time, and you're doing it with so much ease because you're using the flow of the universe and how we were designed to operate as your secret weapon.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I feel like, we get stuck, especially like being in financial services, we get stuck on like measuring data, measuring like revenue, expenses. I'm kind of like really, being really logical and math driven. But I definitely also agree, being an entrepreneur, that I think 80 to 90% of, especially in my day, it's managing energy. It's really managing what kind of goes through your mind. And I've been lucky enough to like work with a lot of coaches and mentors. So I have experience, somewhat experience in this field from the client end of like being coached and going through this. Something that I kind of caught on to, like it's a lot about energy. And I also see that when back to expansiveness, right? I think it also connects with being abundant. And when you're abundant, it's almost like you have no limits. But the problem with that is that when you have no limits, you you have too many ideas, then it leads to paralysis analysis, right? So that's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
downside of being too abundant and being a visionary. So how do you kind of meet that balance where you want more out of life, you want to do bigger things, more things, but you also don't want to get into a trap of analysis paralysis?
I love this question for a couple of different reasons, but I would first like to understand what expansiveness means to you, because it's a completely individualized definition, right? I think expansiveness could be this untapped potential, which is also the definition of energetics, right? It's, energy can neither be created or destroyed, just converted from one form to another. So if you look at money, because you are in the finance world, if you look at money as, instead of it being money and data, it's just another form of feedback from energetic forces. So it's really just this flow of different types of energy coming towards you. So you get to be really playful with it. I think the moment that we drop into the mindset of overwhelm, which is really interesting to, the expansiveness, if you're thinking about too much visionary, too much, where you're actually creating that paralysis that you're speaking about,
Mhm.
it actually can hinder so much of your untapped potential. So, to answer your question, it really is about dropping back into that playful energy of reminding yourself that money is just energetic feedback of how you're vibrating. So, if you want to create more of it, how can you drop more into the fun? How can you drop more into the play? How can you actually activate your unique brilliance? Meaning, I go into your energy for you, where I actually help you extract your key differentiators, your energetic DNA is what I call it in my work, and using that to inform your decisions on how you want to, for instance, create your new product or hire different people. You make decisions based off of these characteristics that you're designed to create from. And it becomes so much easier from that perspective, because what constitutes as a positive or negative choice is individualized based off of you and who you are designed to be. So once you know who you're designed to be and how your energetic DNA has composed you as a soul, then you don't have the experience of being in overwhelm or paralysis as much, because you know who you are and you are able to make these decisions very quickly. So that eliminates a lot of the back and forth and the chaos and the questioning and the doubt that can be those interruptions in your progress.
And listening to right now this podcast, as well as before we recorded this, I listened to your podcast. I listened to your recent episode, and you mentioned a
Yeah.
lot of self-awareness. So I'm hearing, like based off of this and your other podcast, I'm hearing that self-awareness is really important. It's a not only a problem solver, but also prevent problems. So can you explain more about like what exactly is self-awareness, and is it measurable? Like is there a scale like 0 to 10? Like 10, you are very self-aware, and like zero, like you're not self-aware at all?
Yeah, it's so great that I love that you've listened to the podcast. And I hope that your listeners also tune in to my podcast because we're going to be interviewing you as well. So it's going to be really cool exchange here. Some beliefs that you have might be outdated and holding you back. And so it's really important that, yes, you activate this sense of deep awareness and you cultivate this connection back to yourself. I have a model that I teach with my clients called the 5D method, which is really this acute connection back to yourself. It's understanding what vibration, calculating what vibration you're currently operating at, which I consider your baseline frequency, and then understanding where you want to be, which is your target frequency. And yeah, you can definitely tune into that episode where I break down every part of that model. But the point is that you are really rooting and anchoring into, my company is called Anchor and Lead. You're anchoring into your present moment is all that we have available to us. But if we're using only our past to define our decision-making processes, then we're all going to continue to be stuck. So this model, the 5D method, will actually allow you to drop into the present moment and activate where you are currently, bring that self-ownership, self-connection, and then also utilize the future you and your target frequency of where you want to be to help design the path forward, and then do a new action, which the doing pieces is where all of the shifting from your vibration will happen from the third dimension. It actually moves that frequency, and that new vibration will start to reverberate in all different aspects of life and will deliver you new circumstances and results. So you'll start to witness new changes in your life, like a new income stream, new offerings, new opportunities, new people inviting you to speak on stage, more opportunities and creative outlets, just different feedback that comes at you once you start shifting into that target frequency. And I think that that's really, really key to focus, especially on where you want to be as you are an entrepreneur, as you're planning your wealth, as you're developing yourself in this human experience. But I also want to pay attention to the data as well. So I'm not negating or discrediting any of that as well, because I think that's also massively important. I think using the success as the path that leads clues, right? So like the successes that you've had in the past, look at those and utilize that as you support yourself in making these new decisions moving forward. But Gay Hendricks writes the book. I love The Big Leap. He wrote this book, The Big Leap. If you haven't read it, definitely read it. But he talks about the upper limit a lot. And I think if we only operate in the past, then we are doing ourselves a massive disservice. So I think it's really important to retune yourself to actually understand where you want to be, retune the elements of your thinking, the mental body, the physical body. So like your circumstances around you, if you need to actually clean out your house, that can have a massive impact on the way that you're operating as well. So like the mental, the physical, the energetic, those all need to be retuning to get you to that next level and start to feel your best and start to receive those new, more desired results in your life. And that's exactly what I help people do.
So it's define, declare, design, do, and document, right?
Correct. Yes, that's
I love
right.
it. It's awesome.
Yes, and I actually have a downloadable worksheet that if your listeners want to use, it has some like journaling prompts and such. And then it also has a fillable worksheet that you can actually use, but it has defining your baseline frequency, it's declaring your target frequency, it's designing that path to close that gap, it's doing that action. So really like acting on that plan and then documenting the feedback that you receive by operating in a new frequency. And then you can refine from there. But what that does is it allows you to be in a place of your own experience, operating from that place of self-leadership, and you get to play with it. So like the documenting process is really key because it allows you to really see the fruits of your labor, what you've experienced from shifting your vibration. And so I always get the question, because I work with a lot of leaders that are very data driven. I work with a lot of corporate executives that want to know the data. They want to know, okay, so how do you actually measure the intangible? And quantum physics, might feel fluffy, but it's actually absolutely not, because it's clearly defined. If you shift into and utilize energetics and vibration as a way to indicate new behavior change and new results, it is absolutely guaranteed. So you can witness and document the shifts through your own experience. So that's how you document the new data, is by observing and being acutely present and aware of what's going on with you. And so, like, let's say somebody wants to bring in another 100K this quarter. Okay. So that would require some shifts in their mental, physical, and energetic status. So we would look at those from a very objective, logic-based perspective, where we change the different ways that they need to behave, the different ways that they need to think, and the different ways that they want to interact with the outside world. And we'd start to witness the shifts happen, and we'd close that gap and really start working towards that. So a lot of my clients, it's high touch and connective, and they start to utilize the 5D method on a very consistent, but also a macro and micro way, right? So you're looking at the massive goal, and then you're also looking at the moment to moment activities that are going to start moving the needle in that right direction.
That's awesome. Would you say, I mean, like, I see this as a really big, a big reason to success, because you mentioned that like money is beyond just being like a tool. It's really a result of energetic forces. So by that rationale, do you think like if you're talking to somebody and they're saying like they're having trouble running a business, they're having trouble hiring, they're having trouble raising capital, or whatever the case might be, in your head, are you like, no, you don't have a financial problem or a hiring problem, you have an energy problem? Is that like would you say that energy is the number one like cause of like businesses that don't succeed, and vice versa? When businesses do succeed, the number one reason is because of the energy that was used?
That's a very complex question, because it's completely individualized. But I will say that what's really unique about the work that I do is that it includes the strategy, the mindset. I think success includes strategy, mindset, and energetics. And the key missing piece that most people miss the mark on is the energetics component. So calibration, if you can imagine, calibration is key for individual leaders. So when you're learning how to shift into an optimal state, you can create the necessary foundation with clearer thinking. You can make better choices. You can stay composed in times of chaos and for energetic interferences. So energetic interferences can come in a multitude of different ways, but some examples include social media, getting cut off on the freeway, having someone. I have a child. I have a baby, so she can be an energetic interference. So these interferences are inevitable. So calibration, and the faster you can get back into that optimal vibrational state, the more sustainable the improvements in your business, your mindset, your health, and your overall wellness, and your wealth also. So it really does require this calibration as a component to the ultimate success of your personal leadership and your professional leadership. So to answer your question, it's very much a three-pronged approach. I mean, I think that it requires the mindset work. It absolutely requires the business strategy. And then it also requires the energetics piece as well.
Yeah, when you put it that way, now it makes more sense. It's not one without the other. They all go hand in hand, and I definitely see that. And you mentioned a worksheet. How can the listeners find that worksheet you mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will send that to you as a link, and then we can add that to the show notes, and you guys can grab that for free.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. And then can you just tell us like an example of somebody reaching out to you and working with you? What could that look like?
Yeah, so my whole company is very customer centric, and it's always been that way, which is why we've been really successful, because our website truly cannot keep up with the stuff that we are creating. As you can imagine, we're working in the quantum world, so it's really fast moving. So the best way to get in touch with me is to schedule a 15-minute call where we basically understand where you're at. I can tell you what's going on, what's alive for us right now in the anchor and lead world, how you can plug in on what's best for you. So it's really this approach where we get to see where you're the best fit. So you won't feel sold. You will not feel like we're, trying to put you into something that you're not comfortable with. We'll definitely talk to you about where you're at, where you want to be, and see if it's a good fit for any of our programs or individual support.
Got it. And how can listeners connect with you?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on Anchor and Lead. So the website is www.anchorandlead.com, or you can connect with me on Instagram, and it's @anchor.lead.
Awesome, Emily. I'll be sure to add in all the links you mentioned in the show notes below. It was really nice getting to know you and getting to know your brand and what you do and how you help people. And I'm looking forward to being on your podcast soon, as well as having you back on our podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you guys all for listening. I hope this all landed, and I can't wait to meet you.
Thank you. To learn more about what we do and how we can help you grow more wealth, please visit www.finassetprotection.com. That's FIN, assetprotection.com. The topics presented in this podcast are for general information only and not for the purposes of providing legal, accounting, or investment advice. On such matters, please consult a professional who knows your specific situation.